absolute value. Remember, the absolute value of a number is always positive. So on this, we have this absolute value of x equals 7. So what does x equal? Well, when we have the absolute value, we're going to take it out and put equals 7. And then we're going to write it x equals -7. So we're going to have the positive, and then we're going to write the negative. So that's going to give us two answers, 7 and -7. Now, let's look at that to make sure we understand how that is. So if I have my original problem, the absolute value of x equals 7, if I put a 7 in there, absolute value of 7 equals 7, that's a true statement, right? That works. Also, still, absolute value of x equals 7. If I put a -7, my other answer, will that give a true statement? What's the absolute value of -7? It's 7, because it's 7 places away from 0 on the number line. So I get two answers there. So keep that in mind. Now over here, I have the problem, the absolute value of x equals -6. Is there any way you can take the absolute value of a number and get a negative? So if my answer was 6, I took the absolute value of 6, I would get 6, right? If I took the absolute value of -6, I would get 6. So this can't happen. So that means if it can't happen, that sounds false, so that is no solution. So that's a no solution. This absolute value problem has more terms in it. You want the absolute value part by itself on one side of the equal sign and everything else on the other side. So this plus 16 needs to go to the other side. So the opposite of adding 16 is to subtract 16. So we're going to subtract 16 from both sides. So we still have 3 plus 4x in the absolute value symbols. Those are the straight symbols. This goes away, and 10 minus 16 gives us a -6. Now, if you look at this, no matter what we do, what we get for x, the number in here can never equal -6. It's just not going to happen. It can't equal, because when you take the absolute value of a number, you get the positive version. So this can't happen, so this is no solution. Now, if we had had a positive number when we moved it over there and had maybe added it, then we could do work. And I believe the last question, 21, is like that. All right, we're solving for x. We have the absolute value. We want that part by itself. So this -10 we need to move over. We're subtracting 10, so the opposite is to add 10 to both sides. So we have 2 minus x, absolute value, equals 12. So that's a positive number, so that's doable. So now this part we have to write. First, we're going to write 2 minus x equals 12, just like we see it, but without the absolute value symbols. Then we're going to write 2 minus x equals -12. We're going to do the opposite there. So we're going to solve for x. And that's going to subtract 2 from both sides. You can do this. You could move the x if you wanted to. I'm just going to be consistent. You're wanting to solve for positive x, so you have to divide by a -1 on both sides to get rid of that negative on our x. So that gives us a -10. Over here, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have -x equals -12 minus 2. Signs are like, we add, that gives us a -14. Divide both sides by -1. So x equals 14. So we possibly have two answers, -10 and 14. Let's check them just to make sure. We have absolute value 2 minus x minus 10 equals 2. Let's check the -10. So if we have 2 minus a -10, minus 10 equals 2. So this is really 2 plus 10. And that would be 12. So absolute value of 12 is 12, and 12 minus 10, does that equal 2? Yes. So that one works. Negative 10 works. Let's now check the other one. Let's use a different color here. We have 2 minus x minus 10 equals 2. And we're going to check the 14. So this is 2 minus, and our x is 14, minus 10 equals 2. 2 minus 14 is negative 12, minus 10 equals 2. Notice that's a negative 12, but the absolute value of a negative 12 is positive 12. Minus 10 equals 2, and does 12 minus 10 equal 2? Yes, so it checks also. So that is negative 10 and 14.